Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to our 2023 Mom Congress Mom's Agenda Bill Training Series continues. Today, we will be learning about the PREEMIE Reauthorization Act of 2023. We are excited to have March of Dimes Deputy Director of Federal Affairs with us, Andrew Fullerton, today. We thank you for joining us. We'll have you give an intro here in just a moment. And hello to everyone that's watching the recording. Ebony, you can go ahead and go to the next slide and we'll start our little bit of homework. So here on the screen, you can see the PREEMIE Reauthorization Act bill numbers. This is a bicameral bill that is in both the House and Senate. So we'd like you to go ahead and look up HR 3226, which I am dropping in the chat for you right now as well. It's linked there in the slides if you're watching the recording. You can just go to the slides and click directly on that hyperlink. Go on over to the co-sponsors tab. You'll see there's already 28 names listed there. So this is one that already has a larger number of co-sponsors. You can sort by state. Over here off to the left, you can also sort by alphabetical order if you like to see if your legislator is on there. And then we ask you to do the same for the Senate version of the bill. So you want to go ahead and go over to S 1573. If you're with us live, it's there in the chat now for you as well. This one has 12 co-sponsors. So go over and check and see if your senator, either one of your senators, is already listed as a co-sponsor there. And then we can move right on into our presentation today. Thank you so much, Ebony. I will go ahead and turn it over to you, Andrew. Thank you so much for being with us here today. And we'd love to hear more about your role and about the March of Dimes.
Thank you very much for the introduction, or the chance to speak. As mentioned, my name is Andrew Fullerton. I am Federal Affairs for March of Dimes, and I work on a portfolio which includes preterm birth, stillbirth, Veterans Affairs, and a number of other issues for SQH. And the PREEMIE Act, if we go to the next slide, or to the PREEMIE federal slide, is a top priority for a lot of organizations out there. Mom Congress and March being two of those. In fact, we have a coalition letter with 99 signatories, maybe even 100 today, organizations which are supporting this bill and asking Congress to move forward. And we have had really good movement so far. I'll give you a little bit of a lay of the land before I go into some background. Actually, let me go into some background of preterm birth, and then I'll go into where the bill is currently. On the next slide, gives you a little information on where we are internationally and nationally. Preterm birth, comparing us to other high-income, first world countries, we are doing terribly. As you can see from the left side, we're at more than double many of the other countries, if not significant. And our preterm birth rates have been going up for the last decade. And that is not something that we all want to be seeing happen in this country, which is supposed to have one of the best healthcare systems in the world. And we can be doing better. And this is why we need to continue pushing legislation like the PREEMIE Act, and why we need to see this reauthorized. On the next slide, a little more information. As you can see here, we had, according to the March of Dimes report card, a significant increase of 4% in just a single year in 2021. And we currently have about 383,000 preterm births each year. Native American and Black mothers are far more likely, as you can see here, to face the impact of a preterm birth, and their children are twice as likely to die. In fact, preterm births, you can see from the slide, account for more than a third of infant deaths in this country. So and that's death. Like there's a lot of other impacts, so that some of you may be aware of, which is why you're advocating for this bill. That includes birth defects and other long-term health impacts. And this has a significant impact on the healthcare system, one that we want to be shrinking. So those resources can be used for other priorities for moms and babies, and so that we don't have as many preterm births, and that babies can go to term and be born, healthy at full term. So on the next slide is something that you'll see in one of the handouts that you'll be provided, which is a very good contrast. This is a map from our report card that we released about a year ago, comparing the different states. And you can see that there is a strong disparity between states in different parts of the country. And that is one that we need to be doing more about fixing. And we don't have the research, we don't have the prevention, we don't have greater understanding of what is happening with preterm birth. We can't fix this problem. And for those of you from states that are yellow or red in particular, but gray as well, this is something to point out, that their states are some of the worst in the country, and that they should be paying attention to this issue. They should be looking at solutions, the PREEMIE Act being one of those, but other solutions as well, try to address why their states are doing so poorly and how that can be remedied. So going to the next slide. Let me give you a little background on where the bill is and where it is and what it is. But what it is first. It is a bill that was it's about 2 decades old. It has been reauthorized every 5 years, and that is this year. It is the legislation that is the federal government's commitment to addressing preterm birth. It has funded research by the CDC and surveillance of trends. It in other years has also financed prevention programs. It also will, which is something new here, have a study that will look into costs associated with preterm birth, focusing heavily, for example, on the impact to families, information that we really don't have a lot of. It'll look into the impact of social factors, gaps in public health programs, and importantly, recommendations. And this study will be conducted by an organization called the National Academy of Sciences, which is one of the preeminent organizations out in the research world. The other thing it will do, which is new, is it will require HHS to coordinate federal activities, particularly within its own component agencies, around preterm birth. We shouldn't need to duplicate efforts. Those resources should be spent wisely and effectively. And that is one thing that we hope that this coordination will do. It's not setting up any new offices or anything else. It's just requiring the various components that are working on this to talk to each other, something the federal government doesn't always do that well. So where it is, this bill has actually moved very well in the House, and we've been very excited by the progress there. It, before August recess, received a markup and a vote in the House Energy and Commerce Committee, which is the committee that has jurisdiction over this piece of legislation, and it passed unanimously. It is our hope in the House that this bill will be included in what's called the suspension calendar, which basically is a unanimous consent for the House. So when you're talking to your House members, the ask really is, one, jump on as co-sponsor, and two, support it being included as on the suspension calendar, so that it doesn't require a vote and it will move much more quickly, especially given some of the politics that are playing out in Congress currently. In the Senate, rumor has it this may be heard in the Senate Health Committee, which again is the committee that has jurisdiction in the Senate. The bill sponsors have also put the paperwork in for this to be considered through unanimous consent, or what's called the hotline in the Senate, which is the equivalent to what I was discussing in the House. The idea being will be unanimously supported in the Senate. Therefore, we don't need a vote. We can move this through by voice vote, by just saying, and skipping all the steps in between. Whether that happens before or after the hearing, we don't know. But your requests to senators are, again, one, get on board as a co-sponsor. We want as many as possible. That will help move this faster. Two, if they are on the Senate Health Committee, which is the health committee there, ask them to support this bill be included in the hearing that's supposedly upcoming later this month. And then, of course, support it being voted on once that is done, whether that's through the hotline or through a normal process. We obviously really want this to be done for next year, for an election year, when Congress tends to get a little crazy. We want this to be done. We want action to be taken to start working on what this bill calls for. Particularly, the programs I listed, but for example, the CDC's research, much of their research is the only place that data comes from. So if the CDC doesn't continue that research won't be around, and that is the only source for it. So that is what the bill is, and that is the kind of state of play currently. This bill has, as I said earlier, received fantastic support in the House and has received very good news in the Senate, but we can't rest on the laurels. We need to take the next step by telling members of Congress who don't already support this, they need to do that so that this bill is considered as quickly as possible by both House and Senate leadership. I think that is it from me. So thank you very much. And there will be time, I believe, for a Q&A. So look forward to any questions.
Thank you so much, Andrew. That's greatly appreciated. Love hearing that it has so much support. Hopefully we can help you all just push it across the line there. Does anyone who's live on the call have questions today about the bill? General, something you think your legislator might ask you, or something you just want to be prepared to answer? Here we go. Can you please repeat what you want the House to add to this bill?
Okay, so we're not looking to add any new language to the bill. We need this to be considered for the suspension calendar. It's basically unanimous consent vote. That way it will pass the House without all of the debate and all the 16 hours of voting and all the craziness that goes along with it, which you may see on C-SPAN if you ever watched it. It's just much easier, it's much smoother. And frankly, if they do that before the Senate takes action, it will really help our case in the Senate by saying, look, the House unanimously supported this bill. And that is something that's very rare these days.
Yes, we know. So for clarification then, so the ask in the House is not only to co-sponsor, but what specifically should they say to their legislators? So
as ask one being the co-sponsor, but ask two is please support this bill being considered for the suspension calendar. You can just say that, they'll know what you're talking about.
Okay, fantastic. So we're asking for them to co-sponsor, so their name would be formally on there, and then consider it for the suspension calendar, which essentially means that you're telling everybody that, listen, this is supported legislation, let's just push it through. Fantastic. Thank you for the clarification question, Becky. That's greatly appreciated.
I'm sorry for all the Washington lingo.
No, we appreciate it. Everyone's wanting to learn the Washington lingo, so we are happy for it. Thank you so much. All right. Well, if there's no other live questions, I will just say thank you. We understand the House ask. We just want to echo, is the Senate ask then the same, just for further clarity? It's co-sponsored.
Yes, it's the only other ask in the Senate is if your member is on the Health Committee, it's called the Health Committee, but that's really the Health Committee in the Senate. If they're on that, ask them to support this bill being brought up in committee for a vote, so that it can take that next step forward.
Okay, fantastic. Let me put in a link in the chat real quick to that committee for them.
And as you're doing your research on the members of Congress, they'll usually also have that in their bios on their webpage, or they'll have on the nav bar, they might have something like that is a drop down for what committees they're on. That can be helpful for locating what committees they're on.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much. Yeah, those key committee placements. And if anyone's really wondering, if you're wondering where your legislators sit and what bills are sitting with what committees, that information is available on the fact sheets. And actually, when you click on those links to show you the information about who the co-sponsors are, it'll show you which committee the bill has currently been referred to. Congress.gov can lag a little bit in real time sometimes. So if something were to change that you needed to be privy to, we would push that out. But usually looking at that website is a good way to know which committee the bill is sitting with. And you can dig down a little further to determine if one of your legislators has a seat on one of those committees. It's really good advice to know where all they're working. So that's fantastic. All
Or
right.
you can always just ask one of us.
There you go. Exactly. Always reach back out. So thank you so much. And Andrew has provided some further information that I will share out with you all when we share the recording and the slides. So there's some PDF information with the maps and the state grades and things of that nature that are really support for our people who are visual. And I know a lot of us are, including me and Ebony. So great information that you can take and share with your legislators. Remember, those can always be shared via email too. So we look forward to sharing those great resources with you. And Andrew, we greatly, greatly thank you for your time. And we look forward to seeing you one more time tomorrow. So we will be doing one more bill training with Andrew tomorrow, 1 hour earlier than we did today. And we look forward to that. And thank you very much for your time. And
I believe this is on the 19th, was it?
Yes, we are going to DC.
So,
the day is on Tuesday, September 19th.
So I will be up there advocating with stillbirth moms for the Shine for Autumn Act and the Stillbirth Prevention Act. So hopefully I'll see some of you around. So keep an eye out for me. I'll be wearing one of these pins and walking around as well. So I hope to see you all in person. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, we will. I think I told you earlier that we had Debbie came to train on Shine, and then Jen Rowery from Healthy Birthday trained on the Maternal Child Health Stillbirth Prevention Act. So lots of excitement around the resolution being presented on September 19th as Stillbirth Prevention Awareness Day, and really great timing for us being on the Hill. So there's going to be a little over 100 of us this year that will be there. So we're excited to come and elevate everything you all are already doing. We have some really dedicated stillbirth advocates. So we're thankful for all the work you already do and excited to see you there. All right, everybody have a great day. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.